YouTube, there is no firearms in this video.
Welcome back to the Low-Key AirgunArchery YouTube channel. In this episode we will talk about the Maple custom products, 3D printed magazines for Beeman Chief and other airguns like the Gauntlet. By the way, those are made in Canada and this is not the only options that he has. Make sure to check them out. To keep the story short, a few months ago he sent me a one-shot tray, a 10-shot magazine, and a 15-shot magazine. I could not try the 15-shot magazine in the Beeman that I had at this moment because I had a scope, and I only tried the one-shot tray basically that day, and I thought everything was fine, but I realized later that the other magazines kinda did not fit right, so he gladly sent me some new casings with his customer support, and I hope he will do that for you if you have any issues too. But for now, this will give us the opportunity to see what's inside. Hopefully you guys find this interesting, or if you get a jam for whatever reasons, maybe you need to do that and you're scared, so I will tell you how, even if I did not know myself before doing it. Basically, the magazines have two screws, one in the middle, one in the corner. So I started by removing the corner one, which is a tiny Phillips. Then there is a slightly bigger Allen screw in the middle, and apparently nothing should fly out. That's about the instructions that I had from my boy at Maple Customs. It did mention unwinding the spring carefully, but I should have asked how to wind it back. That would have been kind of cool. So yeah, now you can take the cover off. Nothing should fly out like he said, but you want to take a good look at everything to make sure that you put everything back in place. The main thing that you want is this O-ring being on top, and the pro blocking thingy is basically in the corner at this point. I'm not sure that this is what he meant by carefully unwinding the spring, but it did by itself. But yeah, later I've noticed that the pin that comes out of the casing basically will sit in the first hole of the magazine when you put it back together, but you will see that better later on the green one. If you missed it, I've shown where the spring is catching on the orange part. Basically it is stuck in the casing and in the orange part, so creates a spring tension. I made sure to put it back how it was in the other casing. Basically the pin was entering in the top hole, so that's what I did, and it landed at the same spot, so we should have about the same spring tension on both casings. You don't want too much or it will deform the pellets, and that's a big advantage of those magazines, is that there is less spring tension. They are very smooth and they tend to deform the pellets less or not at all. He has a very nice test on his channel demonstrating that, so take a look. Okay, good. Those few seconds of me moving very fast is basically the 10 minutes of me trying to figure out the best way to wind it back. And of course, the first thing that I've tried ended up working with a bit more patience. Basically, you want to insert the spring in the little notch in the orange part, and then you make the about half turn that you need to preload it. But then you will hit the little stopper that I was mentioning before that will sit in the first hole of the magazine, but you gotta skip it while trying to keep the spring in the orange part, and then once you are able to clamp it back together, you're pretty much done. Make sure to not make an extra turn or you will have a lot of preload and that will squish your pellets. I do believe that a half turn is about what those are designed for. If not, I might be completely wrong and I'm spreading misinformation on the internet like half of this planet. But yeah, put your screws back in. Then you will need to do a little bit of tuning with the middle screw. I've tightened it a little bit too much at first and it was not spinning right. If you tighten it not enough, it kind of doesn't change anything, but you don't want it to get loose, so you want to find an happy medium, especially with the middle screw. The other one doesn't really seem to matter. You want it to be tight but not strip plastic threads. I guess that will be a good thing. I would assume those are plastic threads. I will have to verify and put that on the screen right now. Do that, Loki.
Yes, it is plastic, my boy.
If you have done everything right, it should now be very smooth and not have too much preload. If it feels very rough, maybe you tightened the screw too much, or maybe you gave more than a half turn of preload like it was before. I don't really know. But if you give it too much, it will definitively stick. That's what I did right there, and it was not as smooth, so I untightened it. Je l'ai dévissé un peu, my boy. Bienvenue au Canada. Now it is time to see if this was worth it and it will fit better. Wow. Honestly, I was really not impressed with the previous fit, but this is tighter than any magazines I've tried in it yet. I am really happy about that, and let's do the other one right about now that I know how to do that in 5 minutes instead of 15. I will explain it again now that we got better footage and that I know what I'm doing. Basically, you remove the 2 screws, you can then remove the cover, nothing will fall by itself. Then you want to unwind the spring and also make sure that you know how to put it back together at the end. There is a pin that is preventing this from rotating. It is currently sitting in the first hole, which is kind of the last hole, but you want to unwind the spring the best you can. So that was better than my first attempt. Then you can remove that. My springs, both of them, were sitting in the top hole of the casing, so you remove that from there. And the bar was basically in the middle right, so the magazine orange part or green part will catch onto that to create the preload. There is a little bent part on the spring, so don't pull too rough. Try to slide it out more than to rip it out, because springs are easy to mess up. When you put it back together, simply insert the spring in the same hole that it was in the other casing, or same casing if you're not changing that, I guess. This one was a bit of a looser fit, but there is no way that the spring can get out of there because it is under the magazine part, so yeah, it will stay there. Now the tricky part, you will line up the spring in the little notch of the magazine. Basically you cannot really put it on backwards, I guess, and then you will make the half turn of preload. You will hit the little bar thingy, I've been calling it since the beginning, but you want to lift up and then put it back in place. Now you're pretty much set. You got the preload and it's staying there, so good enough. Now simply put your cover and screws back on. Like I said before, don't tighten the middle one too much or you will affect the smoothness of it and stuff like that. The corner one doesn't seem to matter, but don't strip it. And that's pretty much it. It is pretty easy. I guess you could open those to clean them, to put a bit of oil. I don't really know if this is silicone oil compatible, but most likely. Now, time to see if the second one will fit as good as the first one. And it definitively does. I'm really impressed by the fit now, the smoothness, the fit, the quality overall. The customer service was great. Hopefully it will do that for any customer. I would assume that it will, just that's the right thing to do if you want to stay in business. By the way, this video is not sponsored other than by Maple Customs. You did not ask for it. I will get demonetized, so I will not even try to, but I just wanted to thank him for providing me those magazines to try out on the channel. I will get back at the range very soon and try those magazines. I still have a little bit of play on my one-shot tray, but I really like the design with the o-ring to hold the pellet. That could be really practical for hunting and stuff. But that will be it for today. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Hope you liked it. If you want to support me with money, because this won't have any ads, join my membership. If you don't want to, leave a like, a comment, I don't really know, and I will see y'all in the next one.